Welcome back, or if it's your first time, I'm glad to have you here. I'm Matt Fendora, and you're tuned in to the Choose to Live, Love, and Grow podcast, where we journey together toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Using mind, body, heart, and spirit as the anchors of our podcast, join me as we set sail into the depths of self-discovery, unraveling the interconnected layers that shape our growth. If you resonate with today's conversation, consider subscribing to the podcast. Your support means the world to us and ensures you never miss an empowering episode. Welcome back to part 2 of the doubleheader with Nikki Nicholas. On the last episode, we dove into meditation and subconscious blocks. In this episode, we're going to dive into the spiritual side of things. So, Nikki, as we were kind of just discussing before we actually hit the record button, when we realized this is a great conversation just to have organically, the reason I have this podcast as mind, body, heart, and spirit is because I feel like spirit is such an integral part of our growth. And so what that means to every single person is so different. We have different religions, we have different beliefs, we have different faiths and how people got there. And I think that's what's fascinating to me. So for me, what I believe in and how I even got to, I guess, the spiritual side of things was I believe in something greater than myself. And so growing up, I had my father he told stories of how he was going to be this minister before an event happened that he didn't want to pursue it anymore. And then on my mom's side, she just didn't believe because there were certain things that happened to her that she felt like, whether that was there's no faith, there's no God or anything, but that conversation never really happened in our household. And so somehow along the way, I felt like there was a God or a higher being, and somehow certain moments always now that I'm an adult, I look back at some of these moments and I'm like, oh wow, like how all these moments are connecting in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of where I stand on the spiritual side of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny how many times in society in general where it's like you really do have to have faith because it's like you're putting your faith into the unknown. And because there's so much what's the word? So many religions, and then not only that, but there's the religion aspect, which is more of a man-made to my knowledge, to the way I see it, a man-made type of thing versus the underlying um essence of it. Like the underlying essence is, be a good person, the karma type thing, do what you
Hmm.
want done kind of thing. But then so maybe I should go into my backstory, but I kind of feel that religion itself, I am not religious. I am spiritual. I believe in energy. I believe it's kind of a mix of scientific and woo-woo because as time goes on, the woo-woo is being realized by the scientific community, especially quantum physics, that it is actually legitimate and it's being backed up by science. So sorry to go back into where I come from is so I was never anything spiritual, religious, anything like that until high school. So Christianity became a thing in my life because there was a church. Me and my best friend Nicole, we used to go to church, and they had all these events that they would put on, things that it was like youth group type things, and you could travel and you could do good for different communities. And so we really liked the camaraderie aspect, the social aspect, and the doing good aspect. So she and I joined these clubs, I guess, and we would travel and do good. So we became these, Christian girls, whatever. But really it was fun. Like we just really enjoyed doing it. But for me, to be honest, being in that church, we found there was a lot of hypocrisy, and we found that these Christian people were being so biased and being so I guess, non-caring towards non-Christians, which we found very hypocritical. And so it kind of put a bad taste in our mouth. or me specifically. And so that actually pushed me away from the church. And so from then on, I had this stigma about anything religious, anything like that. And I find that that is pretty prevalent, at least among the people that I know, or knew, after that point. Um, but then, randomly enough, the way that it happened, like I think I had talked about how in 2017, I flipped my entire life around. And in doing that, it was kind of strange how it all came to be, where I would find people in my life who were helping me through, who were into NLP, hypnotherapy, all that kind of stuff. But there were a couple people who were also very spiritual. And so when I would be going through like this emotional turmoil within myself, when I had shifted my entire life around, all of these emotions were coming up. And then I was dating for the first time after leaving my relationship. And they were talking about stuff where it was like, oh, are you feeling his energy? Check to see if the energy that you're feeling is yours or his. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. And so then they started being like, okay, well, here's how it works. And they would talk about energy, and they would talk about how we're all connected, we're all one, and that we're all just vibration. And I believe that already. We're all just energy because, but well, for various reasons. Um, but then I started to dive into that and kind of dissect it because I'm a very analytical person. And I was like, okay, I need to understand this because this is either real and it's really like a profound thing to know and to experience in your life and move forward with, or it's totally woo-woo and I should get off of this train. But the deeper I went, the more I realized, holy shit, this is legit. This is real. And I would have experience after experience after experience that were just mind blowing. Like as you go deeper into these realms, it's like, wow. And the experiences that you have, like some of them, I'm like, I don't even want to talk about them publicly because there probably is still a stigma with a
Mm.
lot of people who aren't spiritual, but the spiritual people out there, they know, like, oh yeah, I've had that happen. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. So it's interesting because for me, growing up in the society that I did, it's almost like when I was at work still at my corporate job, I remember saying some of this stuff that was happening to a coworker, and she's like, "Oh my God, that same kind of thing happened to me when I was like 8 years old." She was telling me how she was looking out the window as an 8-year-old girl, and she imagined a car going by and it crashing into something outside the window. And then 10 seconds later, it happened. And she's like, holy crap. And she told her parents, and her parents were like, that didn't happen. No, it didn't. It stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. And so from that moment on, she got that vibe, that energy of we don't talk about this stuff. And so when I was telling her my experience, she said to me in a very loving way, don't talk about that stuff. Like you're going to get ostracized. Don't talk about that. And that's what I kind of grew up with in society. And so I still have a little bit of that within me as well, like even now, because you say something and you think about social media, you say something and that sticks with you. And so it's like you have to be careful. But then there's the authenticity piece too. And also that other people are going through this same kind of thing and they're going, what the hell is happening?
Mhm.
Like I'm having these experiences, but there's no information, you really have to dig. And so that was the stage I was in 2017 was digging, digging, digging. But thank God I had a couple people who were able to explain certain things to me. But still, to this day, those people who explained those things to me, they refuse to go public about what their experiences are for the exact same reason. They had the same kind of thing, but had, life situations where they weren't allowed to say. And were basically told that if you do, bad things will happen. So it's very, very interesting. So that's kind of where I come from when it comes to the spiritual side of things, even though, again, I'm very analytical. I'm very like data driven and I've looked into everything and it's like it's all backed up, especially thinking about experience too. So it's very interesting. And I am aware of that back and forth conflict in my mind because I'm very, mindful of what takes place within me. So I wonder if you've had something similar to this.
Hmm. I don't know. It's hard to say. I definitely feel like there's energy out there, and I feel like we're connected through that because I know, I'll give you an example. My wife doesn't believe me when I say this, but I know when she's in this like I'm gonna mess with you mode because I could feel her energy from like a different room, and I know
Hmm.
as I'm doing something that she's going to do something, and I'm like, please don't do it. Like I know what you're about to do. She's like, I'm not doing anything. Like I know what you're about to do. I could feel what you're about to do. Please don't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, so I understand, that aspect of things. One thing that I started thinking of though, when you were talking about the chemistry between you and your partner, have you seen the movie Elemental?
No, I
It's
don't think so.
it's a Disney or a Pixar movie, and
Oh, okay, no.
there's actually one scene in there that kind of reminded me of that, where there's someone there who is trying to find if these two people are meant to be together. And it's based off of if these two people can make this match light on fire. And they have to, and essentially, I feel like that's similar, right? Where there's the two
Yeah.
energies and the chemistry is that connected enough to create this chain reaction of a fire on a
Yeah.
matchstick.
Yeah. That's really cool. I like that. I'm gonna have to watch that movie.
It was pretty good. I was surprised.
There's not a lot of like children's movies that I've watched in so long, but every time I do, I'm like, oh my God, I'm missing out. I need to watch these more.
There are definitely some that have really good themes in them, and I think there's others that kind of hit the mark. They're trying, and it's like, no,
Yeah, yeah,
probably not the
yeah. Don't
best.
quite make it. Yeah, totally.
So now that you know a lot about the energies and things like that, how important is that? Would you call it faith, or what would you call that? What you believe in?
So I think the energy side of things is different than faith. Faith is you don't notice anything in the real world, physical world, I should say, of matter, that is reinforcing what you believe, but you know. And I feel like throughout my life, I have always had this, I want to say, hmm, like a compass that it is my excitement. So whatever is the most exciting thing to me, that's what I move towards. And that's what they typically say in spiritual circles. Um, Follow your highest excitement. And it's like I get an idea of what I am meant to do, who I'm meant to be, what I'm meant to be. And I move towards that. And it's almost like this guiding star. It's like in my mind, like above my, like, it's almost like it's up there in front of me and up. And that's what I'm moving towards. And I've always had that. And it's interesting because whatever I put there, whatever intention I set, that's what I end up getting. And it's kind of mind blowing, like actually looking back and it's like follow this breadcrumb trail. And actually, when I do finally achieve something that have been working towards, moving towards, I look back and I see it's like a breadcrumb trail. It's like where I'm at right now. It's like all the things that I've done in my past are coming in handy, are coming in use here with myself and for my partner, because with this coaching business, there's a lot that you need to know. And for me, I taught myself how to build websites. So I know how to do that. I taught myself online marketing, know how to do that, project management, even something as random as modeling. I modeled in China when I was 19. And now if I want to do a quick photo shoot, I do it. Crazy part, my partner, he did photography and he likes video editing and he likes, all these different things that go hand in hand with what I need and he needs to do, in order to make this work. And it's like when you look back and you're like, oh, that makes so much sense, It's like, yeah, like hindsight is 2020. Um, but where was I going with this? So energy versus
Faith.
what was it? Faith. So the faith side of things is that you kind of put something out there for what you want and you move towards it, not knowing whether it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, if it's going to happen, or when it's going to happen. Whereas energy, so the way I think of energy, and they have, as far as I know, science has proven that we have an energetic field around us. Also, science has proven at a quantum level, everything is vibration. And then if you think about, so energy, like law of attraction type stuff, when they talk about law of attraction, they're like, you need to act as if you have. So, for example, there's a difference between thinking of something that you want in your future, because if you want something, so for example, right now, if you think of something you want, so just like kind of grab something with your mind that you want, you have an internal association cognitively, conceptually in your mind about what you want. And you probably have some kind of sensation physically tied to it. When I say sensation, like an inner sensing, kind of like when we were going over the feelings sensing in your body, you can actually sense outside of your body as well, like in your auric field, your energetic field. That's a bit more advanced. But some people actually, I'll say, where do you feel the negative emotion? And they'll feel it like in front of their face. And they're not spiritual. And they're like, how am I feeling this in front of my face? And they're like, I've done it a million times. I've felt this a million times. And then I explain it to them what they're feeling, what they're sensing. So sensing is probably a better word. But if you think about conceptually what you want in the future, it like where do you see it, or do you internally see a picture or a representation of it
I'd say inside, I guess.
inside?
Yeah, because it's not me physically touching, it's just a picture of it.
It's a picture of it. And so this is going into the NLP side of things. We didn't really touch on this aspect last time, I don't believe. But so when you think about that picture, where is it represent, or sorry, where is it located in the space around you? Is it like far out in front of you? Is it small, or is it right up close and big,
Far away.
far away? And would you say it's small or big?
S Small,
Small. That's me too, actually. And is it more high or more low?
low.
Low, mine's more high. So what I want. Yeah. And is there any other qualities? This is kind of fun to just kind of spitball with this, because I've never actually done this aspect of it before with somebody just talking it out. But so when you think about it, are there any other qualities? Is it dim? Is it light? Can you sense anything?
It's dim. Feels like it's out of reach.
And that, oh my God, you just nailed it. Good job. That's awesome. Okay. So the next phase I was going to go into, the funny thing is that that is something you want. So that's how you internally represent what you want. It's far away, it's small, it's dim, and it's kind of lower. So now think about, or I shouldn't say think about, I got to get my phrasing right. Okay. When you imagine, I don't know if that's the right word. In spiritual circles, they always talk about how the English language is so it's not very good for describing this, and I've found the same. So when you think of the words I am, and you just think of those words I am, and you just put yourself in that place, that state of I am, it's a very present moment state or place.
Hmm.
It's like a beingness. That's how they describe it, a beingness. You are. It's like an action word kind of are or am. So when you think about that goal that you want, but instead of thinking of wanting it and a concept of it, now think about having it. So you're in the moment, this moment, and you have that thing, and it surrounds you as if it is your world right now. So if you put yourself there, what do you experience then?
I feel like the lights turned on and it's all around me.
Yeah. And so that is a present moment. I don't want to say sensation, but it almost is a sensation. It's that I am, that I wouldn't say verb, the beingness, but you are in that thing that you want. You are in that place where you have that thing. It's a having. So that's what they mean when it's law of attraction type stuff. They're going into the difference between wanting, so how you represent the concept of what you want. And if you're focusing on it as that concept, as what you want, you're focusing on the wanting of it, which is that far away state, like it's out of reach. The having of it is all around you. So if you had it right now already, that's what you would be focusing on, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. So when it comes to energy versus faith, I would say when you don't have something, that is when you would have faith, which is more of an outlook, a belief in. what's possible, a belief in maybe yourself. Um, and then and then the vibration type thing, the energy type thing would be more you could energetically be projecting it out as a wanting, and that's conceptual in that space, or a having, and that's also energy in your current surroundings, if that makes sense.
So we kind of talked, I feel like a little like you mentioned the law of attraction, but you've also mentioned how people do it incorrectly. So what would be the incorrect way and what would be the correct way?
Yeah. So let me see how I want to frame this. So it's kind of like the same thing. Most people think about what they want, and so it's like affirmations, actually. That's a really great way to do it. So the way that I help my clients get what they want, and I do utilize this type of strategy, is it taps into what we were doing on the last call where we did the Ho'oponopono. We found resistance within you and we went into that and released it. So that's your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind bringing up a neurochemical response is essentially just bringing up resistance or energy within you that is keeping you from moving towards what you want or having what you want. So when you think about affirmations, so if you think about what you want, what's an affirmation you could say to yourself, like as if you have that, or about anything?
I don't know if this is in line. So the past couple weeks I've been struggling. And so the affirmation that I have been telling myself is God made me much stronger than the average person to serve a purpose much greater than myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm. That's a great one, actually.
that's the affirmation that I've been using to realize, hey, I'm not as tired as I
Mm-hmm.
could be. It could always be worse, but there's also a reason why I'm so tired.
Yeah. So, a couple things there. So, great affirmation because you have it framed in such a way that it's true. Because some people just be like, I am abundant, I am abundant. They don't feel abundant. And it's like, okay, where do you feel the resistance to that in your body? So that's essentially what I do is I'll say to them, okay, come up with a list of affirmations. I actually have what I call a mind movie that they'll create. It's kind of like a vision board, but it's a they'll speak affirmations and then they'll create a video of all the things they want so that as the video plays, it's showing them all the things that they want. These are for my clients. And then it's them speaking the affirmations in the background and they, watch that once or twice a day. But as they hear the affirmations that they're speaking, or as they speak the affirmations, either or, they're going to feel resistance in their body. So if I say I'm abundant and then I feel into my body, where do I feel my subconscious mind going, you don't believe that? No, you're not. So just like we did on the previous call, the way to go into that is to tap into it with your awareness, just focus on the sensation, and then you can use Ho'oponopono for the same kind of thing and then help to release it. There might be stuff that's deeper, there might be layers. That's just how subconscious blocks work. But essentially you can pinpoint the subconscious blocks that are in your way through doing stuff like that, exercises like that. Although in the case of yours, so when you say like your affirmation is very good because you have it framed in such a way that it can't not be true, because that's a belief statement that you have and you have framed it so it's like it's towards, the possibility and all that kind of stuff. But you said despite that, you still feel tired. So what I would do in that situation is look at the root of why you're tired. So I don't know the specifics, but there's a sensation you're getting in your body. Maybe it's overwhelm. So feel into the overwhelm, and then you might have to go deeper than that to get to the root of that. And then you can ho'oponopono that or give your awareness to it, go into meditation, that kind of thing. But every single negative emotion that comes up in our experience is always there to go into. And it's funny because you said, I'm feeling this for a reason. That's why. That's always why. Every
Mhm.
single time. It's always because you have something within you that your consciousness is trying to tell you. And it's bringing it up so that you look at it so you can process it out. Because having those negative emotions, that's obstructing you in some way. And so it's telling you need to recalibrate at some level because you're either hitting up against a belief about what you're capable of, what's possible, that kind of thing. Or there's just something else that you're meant to learn about yourself to overcome that obstacle. And in order to find that, you need to tap into the subconscious part of you that is telling you that information so that you can get the information and then implement it in life.
Do you think repetition of affirmations helps us or hurts us?
Both.
Well, let's say in the sense of somebody who doesn't fully believe in the affirmation, where there is that resistance, would the repetition actually help work through that and push through that resistance, or is it just going to be like, okay, like, and just never fully goes through?
I believe that if if people don't realize why the resistance is there, they're more likely to get caught up in the resistance. It's going to create negative thoughts. They're going to have a negative thought spiral, and then they're going to give up on whatever it is that they're doing. And I was there when I was first starting this stuff because I was listening to all these things. I was, you can put yourself in it and you put yourself in it and you get yourself so amped up so that the entire present moment is filled with this amazing thing and you are just like totally lit up. And then the meditation stops. And then 15 minutes goes by, and suddenly reality kicks in and goes, "Oh, I don't have that. Oh, it's okay. I don't have it. It's okay. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it." And then you're trying to convince yourself, but you feel these negative emotions saying you don't have that or you're not gonna get it because there are still subconscious patterns that are at play. And it's like, unless you spend 24/7 in meditation where you don't allow those thoughts in, that's my frustration with this, the new age community, the new age world, is that they're not looking at the reality of how your subconscious mind works. They're not looking at the other side of it. It's like just, oh, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, but not paying attention to your subconscious mind going, no, like look at this stuff. Just look at it, release it, and then you will have that.
Mhm.
So I believe that we're made to believe that it's a lot easier than it is. And then we end up not getting the things we want. And then we end up extra down because what are we doing wrong? Why is it not working for me? And then we give up or we feel, helpless, hopeless, heartbroken. And then we stay in that for a bit. And then maybe a little later we'll pick it up again. But we're told online, I was just looking now, like I love Esther Hicks, but her stuff doesn't say anything about the other. And I was watching her years ago and loved her. And I did get a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff happened in my life when I was, you know, trying to manifest it. But the reason I know that these are the emotions that we go through is because I went through them. And it sucks for people who are stuck. So there's probably people out there who they just have firm beliefs. Maybe they don't have trauma from their past. Maybe there were never naysayers telling them they couldn't do something. Maybe they can just go. But I think that depends on context. I think it depends on what area of life are you working on. I think it depends on how much does it matter to you because if you have a lot of want there, then your attention is focused on that wanting. Again, that conceptual far away, it's at arm's length versus it being here. So it's really just about training your mind. But I think the majority of people out there probably get caught up in it doesn't work for them because of everything I just said, which is unfortunate.
Mhm. Do you think that the energy side of things also ties into intuition? That's where the intuition comes from, is from that same concept of energy.
When it comes to intuition, I feel like that's different. It is energy because everything's energy, but I don't feel it. It's like I don't think intuition is a sensing energetically. I feel like intuition is a knowing, and I don't think a knowing is the same kind of energy. Like when you know something, it's like you're accessing a place that I don't even know how to end that sentence. You just know something.
Hmm.
Um, and you can have faith that your intuition will follow through, that it's right or that something will happen. But I think it's just a knowing, which I think is just another level of consciousness in a sense. What do you think?
I can see that when you said it's about knowing, we always talk about intuition as um our gut our gut feeling, right? And we've had studies now that show that your gut is your second brain because of the nerve endings, how many nerves endings are in the gut compared to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
brain and the rest of your body. And so
Yeah.
I think it's more that you don't have all the extra things, that those extra blocks of, hey, I got to think about
hmm
these 15 things. It's in the present moment of, hey, by the way, you probably shouldn't do this. And then you're like, wait, what? I shouldn't do what? And you have no idea because it's kind of
Yeah.
talking to each other, but it's like you don't understand the message. It's like an encrypted message, and you're like, I don't get it. But you know there's something
Yeah.
there.
Well, and the hard part is that that gut feeling is more so what we were doing on the last call, where it's more about your subconscious mind is prompting you based on previous potential trauma, previous experiences. If it's a negative feeling, it could be don't go down that street because of an intuition, or don't go down that street because it reminds me of something from my past, so the hard part is that when it comes to following like the bodily type sensing or feelings, it's hard to know through that because it's probably at your level of consciousness at the moment, it's probably right for you. Um, but I feel like intuition is a deeper level than bodily sensations, although bodily sensations can reinforce what your intuition is telling you, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, just because like you could have, I don't know, say somebody who was brutally like treated brutally at some point in their lives, like say a woman was raped, for example. If that happens and then she is meeting up with someone who is a perfect man for her, but she has this gut instinct and it's like, don't go near him because danger, because he's a man, and because that is prompting this negative thing from her past to have a reaction within her, and it's a gut response going, don't go near him. So that's a situation where it's not intuition necessarily. If he's a good person, it's not intuition, it's your past that is overly convoluting through this negative feeling in your gut, this neurochemical response telling you don't go forward with this when it could be a good thing. And so that's why when it comes to intuition, I don't ever say to follow the bodily sensations for that, because it could just be so murky because of past trauma, past experiences. So intuition for me is much more subtle. Kind of like when you just know something. Like, how do you know something? It's just there. You just know. And you can't pinpoint what it is. There's no feeling to it. I think intuition is the same. It's like, how did you know to walk down that road? I just knew, you know, or like
Hmm.
a synchronicity, same kind of thing where something just happens. And it's like, there's no density to that energy. It just is. It's so, so small, I guess, if that's the right word.
Hmm. Do you think that's what was driving you to follow those breadcrumbs? Your
I think
intuition?
that's exactly it. I think that's exactly it. Yeah, 100%. Because, um, so I follow, do you follow any kind of like channeler or anything? Like, I don't know if you know who Esther Hicks is,
No.
Abraham Hicks. Oh, okay. So she's a channeler. And then there's another channeler named Bashar, and Bashar has some knowledge bombs. This is getting a little woo, into the woo-woo realm because he's a channeler. Or Bashar is what's being channeled, but his knowledge bombs are on point. And that's who the people that I listen to, like on YouTube or follow, or practitioners I follow, the only way that I will ever follow or listen to someone is if they know at least as much as I know, because that's how I know they've put in enough time and effort and energy and work to get to the point of consciousness that at least that I've gotten to. And if they know more than me, then it's like, hey, I know you're legit because, I can tell That's why when I watch some people online and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. So steer clear of them. Where was I going with this though? Bashar, something about Bashar. Uh,
So originally we were talking about how if it was you felt like it was intuition that helped you find those breadcrumbs.
yeah, yeah. So what he says is that when you come into this life, you have kind of like a map, and it's at an energetic level. It's the template level reality is what he calls it. Essentially, you have kind of this map of what your life is meant to be, not specifics, not content wise, but like what you are meant to be doing, like kind of a path you're meant to follow. And so whenever I think about all the things that have come true, and when I've put that, like when I think about what I want to do next, it's coming from somewhere. I think it's a soul level thing, which aligns with what he says. But essentially it's like something is in you as a being, as a soul, and you are meant to just go towards that. And I feel like we all have that kind of North Star guiding compass, you know? And so for me, I do think that that's what it was, is you just kind of know, and then you just take the best steps you possibly can to move towards it. And then when you obstruct yourself or tell yourself that you can't do it, or someone else tells you you can't do it, or you feel like you can't do it, that's when you get stifled. That's when like depression kicks in. And that's where I was at for, I think it was like 2010-ish, 2012, something like that. Um, because I felt like I was stuck and stagnant and I couldn't do anything to get my dreams to happen, to move forward in the way that I knew I was meant to. So yeah, I think it is. I think it is an intuition that we moved, know what to move towards. And I think it's tapping into that like map or that template level reality, whatever it's called, um, that we're meant to go on that path forward towards.
If someone were interested in learning more about the energy side of things, where would be some good starting points for somebody to learn about it?
Hmm. I know Mind Valley. Do you know Mind Valley?
Hmm.
Yeah, they have some good stuff. I took an energy healing course from a man named Jeffrey Allen on Mind Valley. And that was a really good course. It was just like a beginner's level thing. But it really, I think he has more now. This was, I think, like 2018, 2019. But it really kind of laid the groundwork, and it also overlapped with what my friends back then were saying about energy, about, yeah, like you say, like you can walk into a room and you can sense something, you can sense the energy, like with your wife.
Hmm.
It's kind of like sensing energy. Oh, also, what was it? Oh my God, it just popped into my head. So around the time that I was listening to Esther Hicks books, which also I would recommend. I know I had said that she doesn't touch on the subconscious like negative feelings. So just note that, remember that. But there's a book. I got it in audio form, and I think I've listened to it like 6 times now. And it's called Frequency by Penny Pierce. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that book if you're into learning about, yeah, energy and how it all works. It was years ago the last time I listened to it, but it was really, really, really good. And it kind of just explained everything, and it had different exercises that you could do. And then over the years, I've just had more and more friends and mentors who have been into the energetic side of things. Also, I mean, not going all the way into the realm of psychedelics, but I did do acid. I have done acid several times, and that is incredible for meditation. I actually did it the very first time I ever did it. That's how I learned to find the sensations within me, because I did it with a mentor of mine. I think it was like probably 10, 11 hours. Um, we were just laying down the entire time that, like, when we had taken it, and we were just meditating. And he was showing me what to do internally, because when you are on specifically acid, but also weed, so I was going to get into that, also cannabis, you can do this on cannabis as well. It's like it opens up so much more of your mind, and you can tap into the subconscious realms. And so when I say realms, I actually wanted to touch on this. So the way that's a good way to say it, good way to imagine it is if you think about your body right now and all the space in existence that is around your body, and we are in physical reality in this moment, and whatever matter is around us at this moment. But then if you think about going to sleep at night and you're dreaming, it's the exact same amount of space around your body. You are in your I'm pretty sure they call it the etheric body. You're in a body, but it's more of an energetic body. It's not your physical body that you're interacting with. And the space around you, it's the same exact space, but it's filled with a less dense form of, I want to like quoting matter. It's not actual matter, but it's like an energetic, more energetic, less dense matter. And so whenever people talk about realms, different dimensions, that's a good way to think of it is think of the waking state, the space around us, and the dense forms around us versus a dreamlike state. It's pretty much the same thing towards, how we view it, our consciousness, but there's a density difference, and also there's no time in the dream world. So then you think about timelessness or the eternal space, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think I forgot where we were again. Too many things I'm talking about.
So when we talk about somebody's asleep and they have this out of body experience
Mm,
and they're they
like
see
astral
themselves,
travel.
yeah, kind of like that, yeah, where they
Yeah.
see themselves or they can't get to like they feel like somebody else is going to get into their body or something like that. That is that
Hmm.
a thing too?
That's definitely a thing. I know a lot of people who have experienced that. I have tried to astral travel. I have never had any success, so I can't speak to that. I've had crazy things happen, but it's never been astral travel. I don't know why. But yeah, I have several friends who have explored the astral plane, I guess, the astral realms. Yeah. So I can't really speak to that aside from what I've said. Unfortunately, maybe one day I can.
Okay, fair enough. So normally now we would go into my three questions, which I ask all guests. However, you have already answered them on the last episode. So I'll ask you one question to see how you answer it. Okay.
Okay.
What is your definition of success?
Oh, my definition of success. I would say following your highest excitement whenever you can. If you can't, making whatever you are doing as enjoyable as possible for yourself and others. Moving towards that as much as possible in life and being true to yourself and others as much as possible in life. That's my definition of success. For me, it's not about financial. For me, it's not about ego or whatever kind of, worldly gains you can have. I do understand that side of things, but doesn't really matter to me. Not that I don't want that, but that's not the be all end all for me. For me, it's essentially happiness for yourself and for those around you. I find that to be success.
Hmm. It's a good answer.
Thank you.
So what's next for Nikki Nicholas? Like, what is the next thing that you're working on?
So, well, right now I haven't done much with Instagram, so we are going full into Instagram, so that's gonna be fun. And essentially just I'm going to be going on a lot more podcasts since now I have, done kind of more of the spiritual side of things with this podcast, probably talk a little more about that stuff, kind of dive deeper into those things, find more spiritual people to talk with. I also plan on doing a podcast at some point, and I will be having people on who are my previous mentors. Like,
Hmm.
for example, that person who he's like, "Hey, have you ever done acid?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You want to?" I'm like, "Well, I guess so." And so then we did the meditation session, and he is brilliant, like, man. But like I have so many mentors like that throughout the years, and I would love to have them on. And then as I grow, I would like to have like people like Rupert Spira. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he is the person like if you want to understand reality from a consciousness perspective, look him up on YouTube. He is just fantastic for that. Like he peels all the layers back and takes you to that single point of consciousness that's behind everything. And he shows you what is actually real from an experiential standpoint so that it's not just, what people have told us is real, because I feel like that is off. This gets into more of like that. Again, what's proven now by science is that everyone's energy. But essentially, he goes into that the awareness, the consciousness level where everything we experience is just our knowing of it. So like you touch something in front of you, how do you know it's there? Through your sense of touch, through your vision. So you know it exists because you are looking at it. You know it exists because you're touching it. If you had no senses whatsoever, what would you be? You would just be consciousness. You would just be awareness. You are aware of what you're sensing. And so when you take away the sensing or the vision, like all the different senses, when you take all of that away, what do you have? It's just you being the awareness of everything, that I am that everyone talks about. Yeah. So, but yeah, I would say next for me, just I honestly helping as many people as I possibly can and teaching this to people as much as I possibly can. And yeah, growing and expanding and yeah, we'll see.
I'm looking forward, and I'm excited to see where you go next. I'll be a listener to your podcast. Very interesting, and I'm sure you're gonna have amazing people on there and give great insight, just like you did today in the last episode. And I feel like that's a great way to end it. It's just acknowledging you for coming on here. This is the first time to have a spiritual episode. And so I really appreciate you being, that first person that we can actually have that discussion about.
Yes, thank you so much. This was a really great test the waters and see how it goes. And it's a lot of fun. This is something that's so much fun to talk about. So I really appreciate you having me on for a second time.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Choose to Live, Love, and Grow podcast. I hope you took something away from this episode that you can implement today just like I did. Nikki provided a lot of valuable information. I'd love to know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Let me know by sharing this episode in your Instagram stories and tag me at Matt Fendora. If you've enjoyed this episode, the ones before, and or you're looking forward to future episodes, please hit that subscribe or follow button. It helps me get this information to even more people. No matter what you choose to do, choose to live, love, and grow. Thank you, and have an outstanding day.